The Block is making a tree change, and the Official Block podcast is where we drill into the details. New episodes every Monday, thanks to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
9 podcasts.
1 bedroom after Hell Week, living and dining kitchen is like...
That was fun, wasn't it?
Hello and welcome to The Block podcast with me, Shelley Craft. It was the reward for wading through a muddy Hell Week. The Blockheads only had to produce 1 guest room. Imagine that.
The Block's a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yes.
And with most, but not all, opting for a kids' room, it wasn't just child's play for the contestants, but joy for the judges too.
These rooms are next level, aren't they?
You can feel it, it's beautiful.
So, speaking of joy, who better to chat with this week than the Block's own little ray of sunshine, Foreman Keith.
I'm just popping around site, just seeing what everyone's doing. It's embarrassing.
And I'm sure I'll get a smile out of him. Then it's the couple that's all smiles from their back-to-back win, the delightful Dylan and Jenny.
Judges are on point this week.
Hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to us right now and never miss a moment of the Official Block podcast. Thanks to Simmons Homes. Simmons, the great Australian builder. A lot changes from season to season on the Block, but if there's one thing that stays the same, it's what the Blockinator says goes. So, let's see what he has to say today. Foreman Keith Schlager, welcome to the Official Block podcast.
G'day, Shell. Great to be here. Finally, you got me on.
You know, I didn't want to interrupt the Blockinator's life because I know it's a busy one, I know it's a big one, and to be honest, I'm a little bit scared.
Well, fair enough. I had a game of golf planned for today, but I had to cancel it. Only for you, Shell. Only for you.
Hey, does the general population know, do our listeners know how damn good you are at golf, at sport in general?
Well, whenever I play golf on the Block, I get nervous. When the cameras are out, I can't actually play properly. It's hard to describe, Shell. I freeze up, my arms feel like jelly, and I can't play properly. The other thing is, I'm never in form when we're filming because I don't get to play enough.
No, we don't get to do anything enough, do you,
No,
when
we
we're
don't.
filming?
I actually miss playing golf. If a producer comes up to me and says, Keith, one of the contestants wants to play, I instantly put my hand up and go, yes, I want to have a hit.
And then what happens?
And then
you
I
get
play
out there and you
badly,
have a
look
crap
silly.
game. And
Yep. And I think, why did I do that? And yet every year I seem to do it. I wonder if I'm going to do it this year.
The truth behind why the Blockinator is so grumpy all the time is not the contestants at all. It is a bad round of golf.
No, it's the contestant, Shell.
Contestants.
It's the
Oh,
contestants.
dear. This year, has it been particularly tough? Have the contestants been any worse for you than any other season?
I think as a whole, they were the best group that Dan and I had to deal with. We had issues with one particular couple, but they weren't really being angry with Dan and myself. They weren't really arguing with Dan and myself. I think a lot of their issues were budget. They were falling behind. I think it might have been House 3.
Maybe.
But even though I still like Sharon and Encore, they had their issues, but they were great people and I consider them as friends. And but as a whole this year, they were a great group.
Well, that is nice to hear because it looked like from the outside, and I know I only lob up and wave and smile like a member of the royal family.
You do a lot more than that, Shell.
Well, I think I do. Yeah, yes. Thank you for
You do.
appreciating that, Keith. But what's a typical day on the Block for you?
Well, it always starts off at my cafe. Dan and I meet there. We have a coffee. About maybe 7:10, we start doing the rounds. And all we're doing is basically looking over the contestants' build all day, every day. We moved from house to house, which was harder than normal this year because there's such a big gap between the houses. Mm-hmm. And we just do inspections. We also have a lot of meetings with the builders, 9 and 6. Aidan, you've seen a lot this year on TV. We make sure we're on the same line of thought. We communicate with them a lot. But we basically just move from house to house and just keep doing inspections.
And normally on any normal build in the normal world, you would have those inspections from your builder or perhaps from council every so often. But because the Block is moving so fast, and as you say, let's take bathroom week, for instance, that process could normally take 12 weeks on its own, couldn't it? But when you're ticking off, obviously, the build itself, then the waterproofing, then the plumb, there's so many elements that go into that. it's a high pressure week for you guys as much as it is for the contestants.
Yeah, totally. Like anytime we're doing an ensuite or a bathroom, our workload basically triples because we've got so many more inspections, as you said, waterproofing, plumbing, subfloors, walls, frames. There's just so many inspections to do. I think in bathroom weeks, Dan and myself would probably do 30 or 40 inspections, I suppose.
Good.
But you've also got to help the contestants out too. A big role for us is making sure that the contestants have all the materials. We sort of let them know when their builders are falling behind. We always want them to finish, and we try as hard as we possibly can to get them over the line each week. And we also do help them in maybe a couple of little hints that maybe they're going the wrong way or something like that. But yeah, it's hard work, and bathroom weeks are definitely our hardest weeks, easily.
Do you think you're getting shorter with the contestants each season? I know that I do kind of treat them on the first week like they're the contestants from the last week of the previous series. I think we do expect more from them season on season because, again, they're all Block fans. They all come in having seemingly watched the show and decided to audition for what is, I believe, the toughest reality show on the planet. And you do sort of expect them to come in with a bit more knowledge than they do turn up with.
I don't change. I don't think I've changed since I've been there. We'll put it this way: if I'm doing a job outside of the block, if I'm a foreman and I give a tradesman an instruction, they simply have to follow it. Now, if I'm doing work outside of the block, I don't get arguments from subbies who are, mind you, experienced, but when I get a person that has no building experience argue with me, it gets me angry. It really does, because they're not professionals. We have codes to follow. We have to follow them. Otherwise, we can't sell the houses. And sometimes the contestants forget that, and I don't put up with it. And unfortunately, every year we have one or two couples that want to argue with me or Dan. And it's not only Dan and myself. We speak to engineers, we speak to architects, we speak to our site plumbers, our site electricians. So it's not only Dan and myself that make these decisions. There's a team of us behind the scenes making decisions, not just Dan and myself.
So it's not you getting grumpier, it's the contestants getting lippier. Is that what's happening season on season?
Correct. But I think I've probably mellowed out a bit over the last few years, Shell. I know I bump into people, at maybe out having a dinner or having a few drinks and, "Oh, Keith, you're getting too soft. We want you to get grumpier." I'm like, well, I don't want to get grumpier. Another thing that Dan and I try to do is we try to tell the contestants when their builders aren't up to it. Both Dan and myself have looked over a lot of builders on the block. We know who the good ones are and who the bad ones are, and they probably should listen rather than argue, because all we're trying to do is get them to build the best house they possibly can. And I don't understand why they get offended when we're trying to tell them their builder isn't up to it. But that seems to happen every year. Sharon and Encore, they had issues with their builder, as you can see this year, and they didn't know whether they should move on or just keep them. They eventually decided to keep the builders, but I think it took a toll, because I think that their builders could have done more. I don't like saying that, but that's just the way I see it. I know Dan saw it that way as well. You have block builders come on every year. Some of them get complacent. You can't have that in the block. You've got such a small, time frame to complete a room each week. And if you've got people that aren't giving you 100%, you aren't going to finish. And that happened quite a few times. They just didn't have enough time to paint properly.
It's interesting though, we talk about being block fit, and you'd think that a chippy team that had been on the block before would know how rigorous it is. And I know there's previous contestants that are jumping on socials and standing up for that team because they'd used them before and they got them through to the end and they had a great relationship. But to me, it's like frequencies. Not everyone's on the same frequency, and sometimes you've just got to accept that and, as you say, move forward. So what's your advice for future contestants? I know we've got the auditions are open now for the next series. Can you believe it? What's your advice for all those wannabe blockheads that are putting together their audition tapes now? If they make it onto the show, what would your advice be?
You've got to keep tabs on your builder and make sure that they're giving you enough time to finish the room off perfectly each week. Like, say the builder hands the room over to you on a Saturday afternoon. It's not going to allow you enough time to paint it properly. It's not going to allow the plumber and the electrician enough time to fit off. You've got to really get stuck in it early in the week. and just try and knock the room off so you can finish it and style it well. If you haven't got enough time to paint it and style it well, you aren't going to win rooms, you aren't going to win money, and your block experience isn't going to be as good as it could be. But the other thing is quite often you might have a few mistakes, and if you're ahead each week, it gives you enough time to rectify your mistakes. But if you're running late and you're behind and you've got a mistake, you simply can't fix it. And that happened a couple of times this year.
I saw you and Dad jump on the tools for Omar and Oz in their master ensuite. And that was an example of that, wasn't it? You knew it wasn't their problem. They'd done everything they possibly could and it just wasn't working for them. And for you guys, particularly you, to get down on your hands and knees, and I know those knees aren't in great shape, proves how much you actually do care about the process and getting it right.
I saw the situation, and I know we brought in GMAC to have a look at it, one of the builders, and just give up. I'm like, well, if that glue is still wet, we can scrub it off and start again as long as the membrane's okay. So I got a sponge, I had a look, and I'm like, yeah, well, it's coming off, guys. So I showed them. I did about in an area about 2 square metres, and then handed over to Oz and Omar. They got rid of the glue, because if the glue had stuck, it would have lifted the membrane, and that would have meant they would have had to re-waterproof the whole bathroom. But fortunately for them, the glue didn't dry. It didn't damage the membrane. They finished the room and they actually won. So it was a very good feeling when that happened.
Yeah, you can mark that down to your help, I think. You can take that one.
A little bit.
If you knew what you know now back in the beginning, would you have ever said yes to being a part of the block as an on-air foreman? Because you did start off behind the scenes and you were there and you're obviously great talent. So Jules, our producer, went, right, we're putting this bloke on camera. How comfy do you feel on camera when you're doing what you do now?
I wouldn't even know there's a camera there now. When I first started, I did. I certainly did. Now I don't really worry about the cameras. I just go and do my job. Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. Like, you're a foreman, you've got a job to do, you go and do it. And when you're building so quickly, drama's going to happen. It's always going to happen because we're building so quickly. So I just concentrate on what I'm doing, my job. I don't take any crap from the contestants. And I don't know, I've always been that way and I'm always going to be that way, I suppose. I'm not going to change. You know, I'm wrapped that I had the opportunity to be on the block, and hopefully it continues on.
Here, you're a bloody good bloke, Keith.
Thanks, Shell.
Hey, do you have a favourite house this season? Not a favourite team, but a favourite house.
I reckon I've got 2.
Yeah.
I've got 2. 1 and 2. Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are my favourite houses. I can't see any flaws. I would love to live in either of them.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all? Any of them?
They also had very, very good building teams. I think you'll notice in House 1 and House 2, there wasn't very often that Dan and myself walked in there and had arguments with their builders or anything like that. They were good contestants. They listened. They understood the process, and they worked very hard and completed some beautiful homes. And I reckon they'll sell for a lot of money.
Well, I know it's going to be an extraordinary auction. It is my favourite day of the year. Oh, I know you're a betting man. Where's your money?
House 1.
House 1 for the win.
Yeah, I think Tom and Sarah Jane. I honestly think they were the perfect contestants, and I would put them right up there. I think Tom just never wasted a minute. Sarah Jane was a great designer. She actually really surprised me. She wasn't just following trends. She had her own style. It was very hard introducing a country theme to make it look fantastic, but I don't know, that kitchen they built was outstanding. Each room each week was different. She wasn't scared to take a risk. I stayed at the block a couple of times this year overnight. At 1:30 a.m, I witnessed Tom doing a rubbish run at 1:30 in the morning. It was a Thursday night. That's just the way he was. He wouldn't waste a second. If he wasn't working on the tools, he was cleaning up or painting or having a meeting with a builder or a landscaper. They were just fantastic contestants. I must admit, Ryan also was very, very good that way. And the results show the houses are beautiful. I have no doubt that House 1 and House 2 will make good money this year.
So Tom is taking out the Foreman's Award for 2022?
Yep. Yeah, Tom definitely. And I would say he's one of the best contestants we've ever had. I have to say that. For me, he'd be right up there with Jimmy and Tam. He was just a perfect contestant. And I love spending time with him. When I first met him, I thought, gee, who's this little arrogant little fella? But as I got to know him, that's just the way he is. He's very straightforward. He's very honest. He speaks his mind. He's a very good tradesman. He ended up doing a lot of good carpentry himself. And, yeah, I consider him a very good friend now.
Yeah, you can't fault that, can you? You know, just being straight up and telling it how it is. I think that's a quality too that held him in such good stead with his team of trades. Does it help, do you think, being a tradie as well, because you know the language and you know what it takes? Do you think contestants that have a trade background really do have an upper hand?
Definitely. They know the building process. Tom's a plumber, but he was able to cut, screw and nail, which means he was capable of doing carpentry. Now, a lot of people in that position choose not to, but all you're doing by doing that is saving money. You're making the carpentry happen quicker, and that allows you to fit off quicker. So he was always in there being a chippy, being a plumber, being a labourer, just being whatever he needed to be to get that job done quickly and get it done well. And he was great. Dylan this year too, he never stopped. I think, unfortunately, Dylan's builders weren't really up to it. And I kept reminding Dylan along the way, I said, I think you've got more ability than your builders. And towards the end of the block this year, Dylan chose not to use his builders so much, and him and Jenny did a lot of the work. And I think they had a better experience through doing that, because the builders were letting them down. They were making mistakes, costing them money. And I think Dylan eventually took on board what Dan and myself were saying to him, and he got rid of his builders and did the work himself. And I think he got through each week better.
Yeah, but you're so overwhelmed at the start, aren't you? You think, I know builders that have come on the show before, they think they're going to do all the work themselves, but they're so time poor that you just can't. And it must be really frustrating for someone like Dylan, who knows that he can do the work and to an awesome standard, but just not have the time because there's so much else going on.
True. That's definitely true, Shell. But the other thing is, I think Dylan, he's such a beautiful person. He didn't want to throw his builders under the bus. He didn't want to make them look bad. He tried to protect them wherever he could. He would get in one or two of the builders each week to help him out, but he wouldn't have his building team do the whole lot. He was making sure that he was in charge, and I think it made the experience a lot better for him, because he wasn't doubting himself each week. He knew he was in control of the build, and he knew what was going on, and he sort of realised the block process maybe 3 or 4 weeks in. He worked very, very hard, and another very good block contestant. Loved him.
Oh, if they all had their time over again, how good they would be. Which brings me to my final question. Your all-stars. Who's your pick? If we could do a full 5-team all-star series from beginning to end, who would your top 10 teams be? Or top 5? Who would your top 5 teams be?
Wow, Shell. I've never been asked that. Shannon and Simon.
Oh, yeah, the Voss brothers.
Shannon, I would say he's one of my favourite contestants ever. He was very, very clever with design. He was a magnificent painter, a fantastic person, a hard worker. I'd love to deal with him again. I'd love to deal with Norman Jess again.
Yeah.
Bianca and Carla were very good contestants as well. I enjoyed dealing with them, and they were hard workers. And Michael and Carleen again.
Oh, yes.
So these are people that I'm not going to be arguing with. So for me to just make it less stressful.
Yeah, it makes your job easy, doesn't it?
I'd like to deal with Tom and Sarah Jane again, and probably Jimmy and Tam. I think they would be, if we had those contestants on a block, the problem would be we wouldn't have any drama, because everything would run smoothly. Everyone would be happy, everyone would get along, and it'd be just a beautiful experience.
Well, we'll put that to Julie and Cress. That's an idea maybe for a Masters series.
And we'd have 10s every week.
And they would be a lot of 10s. Can you imagine them going at it, this lot? Jimmy and Tam, Tom and Sarah Jane, Bianca and Carla, the Voss brothers, Norman Jess and Michael and Carleen. Whoa, I would enjoy that series too. What a cracking bunch. Gee, we've been lucky, haven't we, Keith? We've been really lucky.
The other thing, Sherlock, you think of how many contestants we've dealt with over the years.
Yep, and you
There's
could
been a lot.
name 6 off the top of your head that you loved. That's not many, is it?
Come on, Shell. I love them all. You know that.
Yeah.
So do you.
Yeah,
you love
we
every
do.
single one of them.
Don't we?
We've got none that we dislike. None at all.
We might leave it there. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah. Thanks, Shell.
No
Great
worries,
chat.
mate. Anytime. See you soon.
See you, Shell.
The Official Block podcast is sponsored by Simmons, the great Australian builder. Every day at Simmons, our people stand by our promise to be with you throughout your new home journey. Over the last 70 years, Simmons have seen and dealt with it all. And despite today's trade and material shortages, our size and strong relationships means we'll deliver on what we promise. So if you're ready to join the thousands of Australians we're welcoming home each month, talk to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Find out more at simmons.com.au. CDB-U 49491.
The houses are coming together, auction day is approaching, and the drama is just not stopping. We've got the exclusive insights and interviews right here. Make sure you tap follow or subscribe wherever you get your Block podcasts to never miss a minute. Well, their first win was a long time coming, but it seems we've broken the seal now. Dylan and Jen, welcome back to the Block podcast.
Woohoo! It's good to be back, Shell.
Can we call it a hot streak now? Are you unstoppable?
We're on.
Hat trick. When it rains, it pours.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Let's hope it's raining money for you two. It was supposed to be a breath of fresh air, a bit of a break, a wind down after Hell Week. Is that how it felt for you, or was it just as bad as the week before?
No, I reckon it was nice. It was a bit chill just doing the one room this week.
Well, I think I stuffed us around this week, so I got double bunk beds, and we thought it was going to be a cruisy night, and then we were up till about, what time, Jill? 5 a.m. making this bunk bed because we didn't realise how long it was going to take. Yeah. So a cruisy night turned into a bit of a nightmare. Bits and pieces everywhere, and when you're that tired, you're just...
But our instructions were just photos.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a photo of someone like holding a bit of... I'm like, what's that?
And you're two builders, and you were there all night.
All night?
Oh.
Yeah, I still wasn't very happy that night, were you, Jill?
No.
But yeah, apart from the bunk bed, we actually did have a really good week. And the kids' bedroom was so much fun to design and create. I think that's one of our favourite rooms so far, isn't it?
It was
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and you actually beat parents.
I know.
Yeah.
So do we take that as a sign?
Well, I think I had an advantage. I had an advantage. I think because I worked in childcare when I first got out of school, I knew how to like set up the baby rooms nice, and I think maybe that's what gave me the inspo.
All kids have a weird obsession with Jen too. It's crazy. It's like even the ones who aren't old enough to speak, it's like they look in Jen's eyes and like they communicate.
It's weird. It does happen.
I have a weird obsession with Gen 2, Dylan, just so you know.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, it was the most excited we've ever seen you. What made that win so special? Was it the fact that it came off the back of another win and you're like, yes, this is it? Or was it just that it was a really hard week?
I think sometimes when you finish the room, you really hope you're going to win, but you're not sure what everyone else has done. So then when you find out you've won, it's just this excitement and you just feel so happy that you've actually done something that the judges also love. So I was just so excited because I couldn't believe we'd won 2 weeks in a row.
And I just think it's, as Jen was saying, like once I felt like we got our mojo back almost as well.
Yeah.
Like we just got back to 2 weeks in a row. We did stuff that we love and just went with our gut, and we never second guessed ourselves, and we ended up winning both times. So
yeah, exactly.
we're just like, let's just do this to the end. Like, so it was sort of, it came at a good time, I suppose, like, to finish strong.
Yeah, well, it is good to finish strong. Would have been good to start strong too, wouldn't it?
Maybe if we come back as all-stars.
Yeah.
You will be formidable, I would say.
Oh, no.
Hey, you're a lot less vocal when it comes to your design choices than some of our other couples. Jen, can you give us a bit of a sneak peek into the process of how you do design a room or how and when you discuss these things? Because we didn't see a lot of that from you.
Well, when I first went into Melbourne, I just went to all the shops. I took lots of photos of bed linen, things that they all had. And I just sat there at the beginning of the week and thought about what I was going to do in the room.
It was always on a Monday. We never had enough time to plan ahead.
Yeah.
That's going there, Jen, off you go, find them. And then on Sunday morning, it's coming in. I'm like, this is sick.
Yeah, it was just very quick decision making.
And you couldn't really plan too much ahead, like in terms of furniture, because like given material shortages and supply, Jen couldn't really figure out what she wanted until she was actually in the shop.
And then poor Dill would have 101 phone calls. I'm like, do you like this? Do you like this? And he's like, okay, just make a decision.
I remember the master, we're going to do 4 different tiles. I was like, that just sounds hectic, man. But I had full faith.
So then the wallpaper, that beautiful wallpaper, what went into designing that for this room?
We had a good idea. We wanted to feel like have all the different animals and some even sort of hiding. Because I remember I had something similar when I was a kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute.
And it's all when you're laying in bed, it's almost like it's a little game, like a Where's Wally type thing.
Yeah, so we put little bunny rabbits behind like, the
Yeah.
bushes and the deer, and yeah, it was like a find the animals kind of wallpaper. But the original wallpaper was an artwork, and so we decided which animals to put in and where to put them.
So you really have that much creative control with Damien from Graphico about what you want.
Oh, he's awesome. He's so great to work with. We could design pretty much whatever we wanted with him.
And a giant wall mural, like we've got to be honest, saves you a lot of time and energy with painting too, doesn't it? It must be great to sort of sit back and watch the pros put that up, and you must be thinking, gee, there's 7 hours of my life that I'm...
Damien was one of my my dearest friends on the block, I must say.
Yeah, if we could have wrapped every wall in Graphico, we would have.
Doesn't even matter if
it's
it's
just
white.
plain white.
Yeah, exactly. We should.
Oh my goodness. Hey, it was a really cost-effective room too.
Yeah, it was.
We did it all ourselves this week, for the kids' bedroom as well.
Yeah, we saved money on the kids' bedroom, which was awesome.
And got the W.
You got the W, and Encore and Sharon got the bomb, that big bomb. Scotty was on a rampage as far as budgets went. There was credit cards being cut up. What was your reaction to that moment like?
I felt bad for them.
You do feel bad because their plaster bill was coming in at a crazy amount of money. And even though we hadn't had wins early on in the season, at least we knew we could crawl back our money because we are builders. Yeah, I did feel sorry for them. If our credit cards got cut up on the block, I don't know what I would do. That would just be so scary.
You know, it's happened before. Obviously,
Yeah.
Luke and Tess got their credit cards cut up as well. We've seen it happen in the past around the place. But, you know, Unks is an accountant, and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
really surprised me. I know we had a lot of excuses along the way, that their house was bigger, that, you know, they can't lend as much of a help to their tradies. But you'd think, you know, money-wise, they would have been on top of things or been aware. I think they were just so unaware.
If they thought that they could have just kept going over budget, and they would probably thought they could just keep doing it till the end. You want to play a fair game, so they should have probably been more onto it because we were onto it.
We were behind, but I knew coming forward, we were saving as much as we possibly could.
Yeah.
And I knew going forward that I was just going to have to start dropping people off. I wasn't going to keep going much further. So I think Unks just should have tried to nip it in the bud a bit earlier.
Yeah.
They're tough conversations to have, though, and you want to keep everyone on board, and you want to be the good client. I think it's really tough to have those conversations.
Yeah, and I think with their builders, how they kept saying they were going to get new builders in and all that, but I don't think people realise how hard it actually was to even find builders for the block, because there's like no one out there at the moment, which seems crazy to us. So I think that's why they kind of struggled as well with their builders.
If you did come back as All-Stars, would you play the game differently?
We're still
would
the
you do
same
differently?
person. We're still very, we want everyone to do what they want, but
Yeah.
you'd also go for a little scope round, like do a Ronnie ride around and just see what's going on, do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
we were
you-
so just like head down, bum up in our place. I
Yeah.
really had no idea what was happening.
You go in probably again with your eyes wide open and play a better game, I guess.
Yeah, we're still the same
Wouldn't
people,
you?
Shell. We wouldn't change.
We wouldn't change. But yeah, I think you just go in with obviously a lot more knowledge
experience.
and experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised how many old blockheads just turn up, just show up, just are still part of the family? Like Ronnie, as you say, just, you know, lobbing up one day. Obviously Spence and Duncan down there helping Scotty with his
they're
house.
awesome.
There, you know,
Yeah.
there's old blockheads just floating around all the time, isn't there? They
I
love
don't
it.
get rid of them.
Well, it is one big family, and I think once you get to know everyone, and you really do see how it is a big family.
Good to have Dunks and Spence there full time as well, because even if you're having a really stressful week or like a massive day, they'd
know.
always just be like, it's all good, like just
You'll get through it
you'll be fine.
because they've done it before.
And they're
so
just cruising.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think Dan is handy in that regard as well as the foreman, but he's been through the process?
Oh, no.
Dan. I love Dan.
No, we
He
love
knows how
Dan.
to push your buttons too, Dan.
He always used to come to me and push my buttons, but he's really cool.
He is good. He's not.
He's good, but I think because he's the foreman, he has to be a bit more harsh.
No, but Dan's good on like giving you little pointers as well.
He's got to put his foreman pants on.
Yeah.
He gives you like little hints. Oh, what about that? And you're like,
Yeah.
thank you.
You know, when I watch the show, I see Keith drop some cryptic messages, that
Yeah.
Dan drops some cryptic messages. I know Scotty and I stand there and look quite blank most of the time, but that's, you know, we're dropping little cryptic signs as well. But you don't know until you watch it back. You go, oh, I should have picked up on that cue.
Yeah, you don't realise until until you're watching it back, and then you're like, oh, damn it.
I don't mind reading it, just tell me.
Yeah, just tell me. Just whisper it to me.
I think, yes, perhaps we're a little bit too subtle sometimes. Do you think for sleep-deprived contestants that are running on adrenaline only, that we're, a little bit too subtle in our cues?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, hey, guess what? I've got another game for you.
Ooh.
You ready?
What is it?
It's called Child's Play, coming off the back of a win in the kids' room. And you've proven that you know your way around crafting a kid's room. But what are some other staples in the world of children? And this will be interesting for you guys because you got all of this ahead of you. I hope you decide to have lots and lots of children.
You're going to need a notepad and a biro here, Shelley.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, this is Parenting 101. Here we go. I'm going to ask you some questions about some classic children's stories. And Jen, coming from a childcare background, you're probably all over this. Maybe you just have to sit quietly and we'll leave this to Dill.
Okay.
Question number 1. What could all the king's horses and all the king's men not do?
Put Humpty back together again.
You're meant to be sitting quietly.
Oh, sorry.
Me and Jen just quickly have this thing. I reckon for the first 5 years of my life, I was incognito. I don't remember any of these stories, any movies.
I think I'm like, did you watch Mary Poppins as a kid? He's like, no, what's that? I'm like, you're kidding,
I know
surely.
who she is, but I couldn't tell you a single thing that she did. I know Umbrella and she took off.
Oh.
So this is a perfect game for me, Shell.
Okay, all right, here we go, Dill. This is for you, Jen. Shh.
Okay, Dill, go. Okay.
What did Jack and Jill go up the hill to do?
Oh, is it like
Come on.
beanstalks or something?
Oh, no, there is a Jack and the beanstalk. No, this is the other Jack.
I know the song Jack and Diane. Is it about that?
No, nothing to do with Jack and Diana.
I've got no idea what Jack and Jill went
Jack
up
and Jill went up the hill. Was it to fetch something water? To fetch a
pail of water.
Pail of water, yeah.
Okay, next.
There you go.
Maybe this is another little Jack. Why is Jack? Oh, Jack, Jackie. There's another song. You'd probably know that one. Okay, here we go.
Jackie, that's Jill's favourite song.
All about that.
Okay, when little Jack Horner was sat in the corner, where did he stick his thumb?
In his mouth.
Sounds like a reasonable answer, but no. You're wrong. It was into a plum pie. Jen, did you know that?
Oh, yeah, no, I remember that one. I was trying to think of it.
Oh, what?
A plum pie.
We're going to have to call it. What preschool did I go to, Mum?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is a tricky one. All right, Jen, I'll be interested to see if you know this one. It's in the poem The Owl and the Pussycat. What did the owl and the pussycat bring in their boat with them?
I actually don't know that one. Bring in a boat,
Kitten.
maybe some fish. I have no idea.
Bring in.
On a beautiful pea green boat.
Oh, never heard of it.
Oh, okay. They took with them honey and plenty of money.
Oh,
Tricky one.
there you go.
Right, surely, like even the most novice of novices will know this one. Where did Itsy Bitsy Spider go?
Up the wall.
Oh,
The water spout.
up the wall.
Oh, it was all over that.
Up the water spout. Up the wall. The Itsy Bitsy Spider just went up the wall.
How confident was I? Up the wall.
Up the wall.
Oh, gee.
And you're right, he was Incy Wincy, not Itsy Bitsy. You're so right. Well, it's Itsy Bitsy must have been Incy Wincy's other brother. Incy Wincy Spider. Well done.
Oh my
All right.
gosh, that's too good.
This little piggy went to market, but what did the rest of the piggies do? One
This
did
little
that.
piggy went to the market.
What'd the other one
This
do?
little piggy went home. This little piggy... Wait, what did I say? Had roast beef. This little piggy had none. And this little piggy went wee, 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 all the way home.
Oh, thank God for you, Jen.
Jeez, my kids going to have the best dad, aren't they?
If you sit there and sing Jack and Diane to them, I reckon they have got the best going around.
And Jack, Jackie.
And a bit of Jack, Jackie.
I'll just stick with the nursery rhymes still. You can get on the guitar.
Oh, give me a couple of years, I'll be all over him, Phil.
I will give you a couple of years, and I'm going to hold you to that too. Write that down. I hope you come back next week. 3 in a row. You're going for the hat
That
trick.
would be nice. I know.
Thank you for your time today, House 4. It has been lovely chatting to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us,
It's been
Phil. Good
great.
to see ya.
Thank you.
This week, the highs and lows continue. Budget blowouts, auction previews, another guest room, and yes, a second shot at success with the redo rooms. Will they lead our blockheads to redemption or just further into the red? Don't miss a minute of the block on 9 and, of course, our exclusive unpacking afterward right here. Just follow the official Block podcast on Apple, Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. The Block podcast is thanks to Simmons Homes, the great Australian builder. I'll catch you next week. The official Block podcast is sponsored by Simmons, the great Australian builder. Every day at Simmons, our people stand by our promise to be with you throughout your new home journey. Over the last 70 years, Simmons have seen and dealt with it all. And despite today's trade and material shortages, our size and strong relationships means we'll deliver on what we promise. So if you're ready to join the thousands of Australians we're welcoming home each month, talk to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Find out more at simmons.com.au. CDB-U 49491.